I'm declaring the BALDlympics. Good enough. Hello, you scoundrels. It's Forceken back with another series I'm starting called 2B2T College. I'll be a resident veteran on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft. Kidding. And I know what you're thinking, but Forceken, aren't you just some random troll that builds dicks everywhere and then tours them on camera, and then when you go to bases everything's burnt down and you just talk for like 20 minutes straight? No. Only high quality content on this channel, just like the video quality. I'm leaking Illuminati secrets right now. Okay. Within the last couple of years on 2B2T, new hacks and exploits have changed the balance of how effectively you can find a base versus how effectively you can hide it. Ignoring anything like using images of your base, this is specifically preventable if you just don't show pictures. I'm going to give some information on some facets of the server that are rarely discussed publicly, and hopefully get some new tips from you guys as well. In this episode, I'm going to give you some ways that you can use to cover your trail that still help in some way. Many of you will know about a couple of these, but did you know about all of them? Let's get started. First, I wanted to get into the most easily implemented thing. If you are wanting to make a stash near spawn, in order to have access to your gear, one idea might be to use item frames. All other items that you can use for storage are on ESP by default for both Impact Client and Future. So item frames OP. I'm just gonna set up a mock dupe stash in a single player world real quick, just to show what it would look like when it's actually implemented, minus the bedrock, of course. We got the Pop Bob gifted bedrock. You would want that to be the same color as the sand, obviously. If you were doing it on grass, obviously just grass. But we want it to stick out, so. As you can see here on the default settings, neither Future nor Impact see the item frames as they do other storage. You can see that if I turn ESP on, it illuminates the shulkers on the ground, but not in the item frame, nor the item frame itself. If I put on search with default settings on both Impact and Future, still nothing. Tracers, nothing. They're effectively invisible underground, with the only flaw being that they are on both Impact and Future's default X-ray setting. The next item frame usage is honestly probably my favorite. If you're familiar with the popular YouTuber named Barrendome, back in some time ago he did a video on item frames being used as basically item frames being used to create scenes out of a Super Mario Brothers game. And my favorite part and my favorite usage that he talked about was the self-harming, was using them as a self-harming lag machine. I'm sure he mentioned that, didn't he? Okay, back to item frame, and congrats, Baron, on 50k. In the past, item frames have also been able to avoid the illegals plugin and would maintain the state of whatever block you put there. I don't know if that's the way that it would work this time, but it's worth a try. Did you remember to put some 32Ks in an item frame? Or when we update to 1.13? Soon. I did see a post on Reddit about the item frames about 6 months ago. However, It didn't go into too much detail, so I figured it'd be a good addition to this video. Second, a simple change that you could make to what is probably a really bad habit. So Nether Highways, we all love them. Problem is that everyone digs their tunnel at 120Y. All of the main highways are at level 120Y. I can't tell you how many times I've mined into someone's highway that led directly back to their base. In almost every case on 2B2T, it is good to be a contrarian. It's too easy. Don't be that guy. If you wanted to be extra safe, you could always put blocks behind you as you went, at least for the first couple of hundred blocks of your highway. A lot harder to notice at Y level 5. The last and probably most interesting thing that I discovered, which I'll be discussing in this episode at least, has to do with the render distance. More specifically, the server-side render distance. I've heard people mumble about it in passing, but no one ever really wants to divulge too much. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with new chunks. It's an extremely useful hack for finding bases. How it works is that it will show on a grid underneath you, in a red square, which chunks have been loaded before, and which have not. So you can basically follow the path of chunks that have been loaded, all the way to someone's base. But it made me curious. I wondered what the minimum render distance was, server side on 2B2T, since it is separate and independent of what you select in your player options. And also, if the player options for render distance actually affected this minimum render distance from the server's perspective, as this determines how big the chunk trail that you leave will be. To my surprise, at least on 2B2T, it does not affect it either by decreasing your render distance nor increasing it. I loaded up the test server and Elytra flew to some random new chunks to do some testing. No matter what you set your render distance to, you will always load 4 chunks around you, in every direction. You won't load any more than that, no matter what your render distance is in accordance to your position, nor any less. However, I do speculate that speed may be able to affect this minimum render distance, as I have run into dozens or more too wide paths of loaded chunks, usually in the ocean or over mountains. My guess is that is either from when Elytras were able to go super duper fast, or possibly even boat fly, or some other exploit. Or it could be that House changed the server setting for server-side minimum render distance a few times in the past, as you can see is possible from the host menu. I've also seen 1 wide chunk traces before of loaded chunks, but I think that may have something to do with Future itself, just that it's glitchy. Or it could possibly be from when you could do that lag exploit where you could load all of the chunks between you and a target. Who knows? More testing is needed on that, but the overall point is, you want to do whatever you can to keep your loaded chunk trail as small as possible. If you can break the speed barrier, you may be able to leave a smaller trail, which could have a measurable effect on people's ability to find you. Many of the methods we discussed today are more effective with the more effort you're willing to put into them. However, this one, it seems, is out of your control entirely. If you're one of the big brains that are still watching at this point, then you might appreciate my other series, 2B2T, A Journey, where I'm retracing my steps from 2016, old bases, ruins, and whatever else that we run into. Last episode was a weird one. I also produce music in various genres, and will be releasing some of the music that I've used for background on this channel as free to use for anyone. So if you do enjoy that, keep an eye out. No more copyright claims. As an obvious clickbait challenge, and the celebration of Barrendome's 50,000 subscribers, I'm declaring the BALDlympics. If I can get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of next month, then I'll do a face reveal where I shave my hair. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you learned at least something. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.